Beep, beep, we have a jeep. I'm gonna miss this place so much. Sorry, you can't come in. The guy literally said, I decided that you're not flying today.
The customs line was like you were going to a Drake concert. I would just watch his little red hat and like follow where he go.
She's like, oh, that's unfortunate. We get our bags, we're so excited. We're like, we're gonna go eat. But to show you guys the single most glorious moment since I've had in the last 300 hours, especially, except for the honeymoon I just had with Kirsten. Are you guys ready? You're about to see it. Freedom! Woo! Freedom! Freedom!
We love you, Kelowna!
Woo!
We made it.
We made it. We made it.
We made it.
I'm about to tell you guys some crazy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the vlog. Let's go. Say hi to Beep.
Hi, Beep.
Hi, Beep, 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 Beep. We have a Jeep. Beep, beep, we have a Jeep. Beep, beep, we have a Jeep. Okay, so we're gonna talk about our trip on the way back, and we're gonna tell you guys how biggest dream that we've ever had, that was like the most fun, turned into the biggest nightmare in literally like less than like a minute. On the last vlog, you guys saw me and Christian were on the way to the airport, and she was like, I'm gonna miss this place so much, and she's crying and stuff.
I get emotional when I leave places, always.
I was making fun of her, and then we got to the airport, and everything was all good, and I was gonna put my vlogging camera away until we got on the plane, and then I was gonna start vlogging again. When we got to the airport, she's like, Air Canada? I'm like, yeah. She's like, can I see your COVID tests? And so me and Kirsten like grab our COVID tests, and she's like, those aren't good. And we were like, what do you mean those aren't good? She's like, those aren't antigen tests. You can't take an antigen test on the plane with less than 24 hours. Like you need less than 24 hours. Those were taken 48 hours ago. And Kirsten and I were going to get PCR tests, but at the hotel,
where we put in our flight information, they told us what tests we should get.
Yeah, they were like, you guys only need to get an antigen test. So we put in we wanted to get a PCR.
That's what we went in for.
And they told us to get an antigen. So we get to the airport, and the airport lady's like, sorry, you can't come in. And I was like, what do you mean, sorry, we can't come in? I'm like,
but like that was like it, like end of story. She was like stood and stared at us. She's like, the closest COVID testing place is 22 minutes away,
yeah,
and it's
downtown.
gonna be.
That was the first girl, and then the girl's like, I can't help you, I need to go get my manager. So her manager comes, and she's like
same thing.
Sorry, you can't come. That's not good. Closest place is downtown. We don't have COVID testing here. I'm like, are you gonna rebook our flights? Like, why are we having this conversation? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and she's like, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. She's like, I'm so sorry. So at this point, I was pissed. Pulled up my camera. I was like, okay, you can say whatever you want. I'm gonna record this entire interaction. And so as soon as I pulled up my camera, she walked away, pissed off, got the security guard, and just kicked us out. Like, leave the airport. I was like, what do you mean leave the airport? Leave the airport.
But there was 3 other girls that are in the exact same position, and their flight held the gate for them as they went and got their COVID test. But they didn't even tell us that was like even on the radar. They didn't
tell us that we could go get a COVID test.
Tell us,
they just said,
go
sorry,
stay at this hotel.
Can't help.
Nope.
No COVID test. That's not like, it's like
nothing.
There wasn't solutions.
No.
It was just, you guys can't come on the flight today. We're boarding in 20 minutes and there's nothing we can do. Sorry. And so of course me and Kirsten,
20 minutes either, we were 2 hours early.
Dude, me and Kirsten were pissed. Like we were like, what are you talking about? Like this is crazy.
I'm like, we're going on this flight.
I was like, we're getting on this flight. Like
yeah.
The flight was at 2:30.
Yeah.
We got there at 12:30 and they were just being so rude. So like they were just like, no. So then they kicked us out of the airport. And not only that, the security guard came up to me. He's like, so disrespectful. Give me your phone. Delete the video. And I'm like in the middle of a third world country. Like I don't want to get arrested right now. So I like took my phone, I deleted the video. Also while knowing I have a recently deleted folder, sir, and I took it out. But I deleted the video and they're like, leave the airport. So Kirsten and I are like, what the f are we gonna do? So we like called in near a taxi and we was like, we need a COVID test, the closest place that you can take us, please. I'm like, we literally only have 20 minutes to get back to the airport. We need to go get a COVID test.
Which ended up being 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
The COVID testing place.
It
like
was
5 minutes. No,
it wasn't 20.
22. No.
She said it was 20.
And the girls in the car with us were in the same position, but their flight.
No, we didn't meet them yet.
Oh,
so
right,
we took the taxi.
Yes, yeah.
We took the taxi to the nearest COVID testing center. Got in the COVID testing center, and by the way, like on the way there, the taxi was $20 US. We didn't have any cash on us because it was the end of our trip. Why would we take cash out? So we literally had to like beg the guy. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't have any money. Like, will you take a card? You wouldn't take a card. So then I felt like a POS.
And some of them did take cards. That was the weird thing, is some of them did take cards.
Yeah, but these ones did.
Yeah.
So don't have any money, can't pay for the cab, go to the COVID testing place, and honestly the COVID test, like it only took like 2 minutes. It was 5 minutes down the road, only took 2 minutes. There was 3 girls that were in there that were literally stressing out and were like, do you guys have a flight? They're like, yes, we have a flight right now, like 2:15, which is, ours was at 2:30. They're like, we need to, our taxi's outside, we need to go back to the airport. I'm like, oh my God, can we bum a ride off you, please? I'm like, I don't have any money on me. I'm like, I can send you guys money. She's like, do you have Venmo? I was like, I can do PayPal. So I literally had to send these 3 like 23-year-old Canadian girls, which if you guys watch this video, thank you. It's weird. Some of the serendipitous people that have been watching my videos have been nuts.
Yeah.
But I sent her $100 and I was like, thank you so much. Like we're so sorry. We're just, in this weird situation. We get back to the airport. The 3 girls that were in the cab with us had a flight that was earlier than us, and they let them pass.
Let them go.
Me and Kirsten walked up to the gate, and the guy's like, nope. We're like, what do you mean no? We're like,
Everybody
no.
from Air Canada's gone.
Yeah, sorry, can't help you. We're like we have our test here, and you sent us away to get like a test.
And
they're like,
the airport is dead.
Yeah,
like
it's
there
0
is
people in it.
Nobody in
Zero.
there. There's no line for customs.
The guy literally said,
line.
I decided that you're not flying today. What do you mean you decided I'm not flying today? Like, you don't, like, you're not the guy that gets to dictate what the entire airline does. Like, I paid for this flight.
Business class.
I paid business class for this flight. You don't get to decide just because you don't like me. Like, doesn't mean
we're
that.
here. We're an hour and a half now before our flight. We were 2 hours when we got there. It took us 30 minutes to go there and back. So we're in an hour and a half early. There's no lineup.
Yeah.
It's not busy. There's no lineup to go through security. And they literally just said no.
Dude, and it's like, I get that it was my responsibility to know, the COVID testing rules.
Yes,
and I understand that, but like, you're a customer service provider. I'm one of your customers that's paying you.
Help us find
I don't care if you like it or not. Like, your job is to help me find solutions.
Also, it's like the rules with Corona change every 2 seconds. So it was our fault for trusting the hotel when they said, get this test. We filled out a form that said our departure date, everything. We went in on the Monday and we were leaving on the Wednesday. Like, I didn't think to question that at all. I was just like, man, the rules change all the time. It doesn't surprise me. Like, it didn't even cross my mind. So it's like, yes, it's our responsibility, but it also wasn't like we were reckless. Like, we went in to get a PCR test because that's what the rules were before we left.
So obviously we were frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think that like maybe our frustration was misplaced by having the conversation with her and be like, how are you not going to let us in? But despite the fact it doesn't matter, this girl was a manager who refused to let us on the airplane, even though we had all of the necessary documents.
Give us any information,
dude, and we had,
nothing.
Yeah, she didn't tell us the COVID testing store was down the street. We had to find that out by ourselves by getting into a taxi. Like, you're a manager at Air Canada and you're actually going to like do that? Like, that's crazy. Anyways, so at this point, like, I'm just like trying to apologize so that I can get us on this plane. I'm like, listen, like,
dude, and I'm
like, listen, like, I get that you might be upset that I took out my phone, but like, we paid for the flight. My wife has a kid at home. I'm like, we need to get on this flight. Like, I'm sorry that if I offended you, but like, we need to get. He's like, nope, sorry, I decided not flying today.
No.
So I realized this like Air Canada was not going to help us.
He wasn't even Air Canada. He was a different airline.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I realized this guy wasn't even going to help us. He's like, I've decided you're not flying today, so we're not going to help. I'm telling everyone back here not to call Air Canada for you. So I was like, cool. So I'm like, solution mode. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I'm going to buy us another flight out of here. So I decided to go to a different airline stand. There was a place, I think it was American Airlines. That's where I went. American Airlines had a flight out at 3:30, which was still an hour and a half later. I think at this point it was 1:50. The Air Canada flight, we could have still caught it. It was literally still sitting there.
It was still sitting there.
We were arguing, we were arguing with these people for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So and like
longer than that.
The front desk and the departure gate are like, it's like 50 feet from each other. So they literally could have let us in and then let us on the plane. That being said, I decided I was gonna buy us a flight. So I was like, I'm just gonna go buy us a flight. Kirsten's like frantically bawling at this point.
Yeah.
I bought us another flight, got us on American Airlines, and we ended up getting through the gates. Showed them the COVID test that we went to get. And once we got through the actual gates, we decided if we were going to try to get on the Air Canada flight.
Which we got through.
Yeah.
It was crazy, you guys. We got through it like, it had to be like 1:55.
Yeah.
It was still 35 minutes before the plane left, which it closes 45 minutes before. But we spent 20 minutes arguing. They could have easily got us on.
Yeah, they could have let us
easily.
in. Which is why I made a post and I'm like, Air Canada ruined my honeymoon. Because at any point, somebody at that desk could have been like, hey, listen, I know it's your guys' honeymoon. Like, you guys paid to be on this flight. You went and got your COVID test. Like, I get it, you know?
And then next time.
But instead, they were so like upset that we had a disagreement that they're like, I'm deciding that you're not flying anymore. Which is like, but that's not
something.
That's not like
they looked at us like, sorry.
Yeah, nothing you can do.
Sorry.
Nothing we're gonna do.
The crazy thing is that there was, like we said, 3 girls in the exact same position.
That was on a different airline.
Completely differently.
Yeah, they were on like a Delta airline, and the Delta airline like literally held the plane for them, and held the gate for them so that they could make their plane. And Air Canada was just like, nope, just not having it. So this was the start of everything. Okay.
The girl was like this. She was like, sorry, I'm not Karen, but I'm like, this is not a hard job. You should know exactly where the COVID testing center is, because this happens to so many people. You should know exactly how far it is, and you should provide a solution. I get that maybe if we were to go get that COVID test and it took us longer, that we would miss a flight. That's okay, but at least give us some sort of direction.
Didn't even do it.
Or go look at the computer. The next flight out tomorrow, worst case scenario, you guys, we're going to try and move things around, blah, 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 blah. We're flying first class. We did on the way there and back. It was the craziest experience I've ever had.
Yeah, so that was the start. We ended up getting on American Airlines, and at this point we were like, we couldn't believe that just happened, and so we were like super frustrated. We get on American Airlines. They don't serve food on the plane, and there's no Wi-Fi. Kirsten lost her headphones, so immediately we get on the plane. Like, we thought we were gonna like maybe have a couple of drinks and just chill. Couldn't do that either. So we got on the plane. We were just hungry and grumpy.
American Airlines doesn't serve alcohol right now.
Yeah, or food. So we got on there, couldn't eat, couldn't drink. We were just like, whatever. We'll have these like crackers. And we were going to Miami, and in Miami we had a 2-hour layover to get to our next flight, which is going to take us to Seattle, and then we'd have to stay in Seattle overnight. We get into Miami, and there was 2 hours until our next flight. I forget exactly what time it was. And we get into the customs line, and the customs line is, no joke, an hour and a half long. And we are standing in this customs line that is an hour and a half long with our next connecting flight, like leaving in now 30 minutes, and we're just standing in this customs line. And I like looked at her, I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
The customs line was like you were going to a Drake concert.
It was massive, and it was moving so slow. It was like, I can't even
explain it.
It was the longest customs line I've seen by like 3 times.
Yes,
It was insane. We're both so hungry. We're both starving.
I was actually happier in this line than I was on that plane ride.
But we were like trying to make the most of it. We were joking around. We're like, whatever. Like we're gonna get through this line, and then we're gonna go get some food, and we're gonna eat, and then we're gonna catch our next flight.
We need to eat before the next 5-hour flight, because it's American Airlines.
We didn't know it was a 5-hour flight at that time. We didn't know it was a 5-hour flight at that time. But we're like, we're gonna get some food to eat. So we like get through customs, and there's about 30 minutes until our next flight like leaves, not boards, leaves. And so I get through the airport, and I'm looking at the screen, and it says it's like D32, and I look at where we're at, and we're at D like 10, and I look at where D11 is, and D11 is like, it's like a sprint across, it's like 100 meters across the airport. And then I realized in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, D32 is like
we still have to pick up our bags.
Yeah, D32 is like 3.5 kilometers from where we're at right now. I was like, holy. So then we started sprinting.
We grab our bags.
We grabbed our bags, and then we started sprinting through the airport.
But Brian only has a backpack, and I have a wheelie thing, so I'm literally trying to wheel, and my other backpack is open, but I don't have time to stop and close it. So I'm running through the airport with my one hand closing my backpack and the other hand wheeling, and Brian is just full speed ahead.
I'm sprinting because I'm like, we're gonna miss our flight.
So I have to just watch like this little red hat. He's like probably at least a half a kilometer ahead of me. The airport was
massive.
It was crazy. Yeah. So I would just watch his little red hat and like follow where he goes.
So I was like sprinting through the airport, and in my head I'm like, I hope we're gonna make it. I'm like, but I also hope that I can get some food on the way, because I know that they're not gonna serve any food on the plane. I didn't know how long the plane ride was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be 1 or 2 hours, but I'm like sprinting. I sprint all the way up to the gate. Kirsten's nowhere to be found, like right behind me. I'm like, yo, are you guys still boarding? And he's like, yo, get your ass on this plane right now. And he's like, we're leaving. And I was like, my wife, I still have to get my wife. So I like sprint back to Kirsten, and like had to sprint a couple hundred meters back. I was like, babe,
we're gonna get sandwiches.
I know. I was like, babe, I'm like, come here. I'm like, we gotta go. And then there was like a store right beside the plane boarding. So I was like, I'm gonna sprint to the store, grab food, so that by the time like Kirsten catches up to me, we're gonna take it and we're getting in the plane. So I grab a bunch of food, run up to the till, put it down. I'm like, can I pay for these? She's like, nope, you gotta get in the big line over there. And there's like a big line for like donuts. And I'm like, this is a convenience store. I'm like, I don't want the donut. She's like, same line, same person. And I was like, so Kirsten like has these 2 little tuna sandwiches in her hand.
And I was so hungry,
She was
guys.
like, we haven't eaten at this point in like 7 hours, because we thought we were gonna eat on the Air Canada bus.
Eat like a big breakfast. Like all we had was 6 pieces of sushi. That's it.
So she hadn't eaten anything. We haven't eaten in 6 hours at this point. And I was like, okay, like I was like, put down the food or we're gonna miss the flight. So she's like, I can tell in her face. She like put down the food. I sprint back up to the gate. He's like, get your ass on this plane. Runs up to the plane, and we're sprinting down like the hallway where you lead up to the plane. We're sprinting down, and the girl's like, sorry, it's closed. And we're like, no, are you joking me? And we're like, no. Like we started screaming. She was like, you can't be closed. It's like, it's our honeymoon. Like this is crazy. And they're like, sorry, it's closed. And I was like, please get us on this plane. Please get us on this plane. So then she starts like banging on the plane door. She's like, we have 2 more customers. Like banging. We're standing there for 10 seconds, like wondering if we're gonna get on this plane. Finally, we see the plane door open, and we're like, like, I can't believe that just happened. They're like, everyone's laughing, haha, we sit down. And then as soon as we sit down, first thing that we hear on the intercom, and this is where I could see Kirsten's soul leaving her body. The first thing they said on the intercom is, welcome to the plane ride to Seattle. This will be a 5.5 hour long plane ride, and I just saw her sink.
I was so miserable. I'm like,
because we haven't eaten now in like 7 hours.
No,
and
it's longer than that at that point.
Yeah, haven't eaten, and we're both hungry, we're both grumpy, we're both tired, and now we're not gonna get to eat for another 5.5 hours. So we have a 5.5 hour plane ride where we're starving. And
you guys have to remember, like, we've been drinking like for the last 10 days, like we're fucking hungry.
So we're sitting on the plane. With all that's happened at this point in the day, it's like, I think the plane ride, I think it's started around 7:45, 8. So we've been dealing with since noon. I looked at Kirsten, I knew that she was done. She's like, I can't talk right now. She's like, don't even talk to me.
Trying to like, and I was like,
she's like, don't talk to me right now. So we were just like sitting there. And that plane ride was probably the hardest plane ride I've ever had because I was so hungry and so tired.
So tired.
So like, grumpy and so thirsty. There's no space. We were like, it was brutal, honestly.
It was like, I had to get myself into a headspace where I was like, okay, focus on what you're grateful for. Focus on what you're grateful for. Because I was like, I'm so frustrated right now. Like, we just dropped $3,000 extra on top of the like $7,000 that it cost to get business class to get back home when we could have got on our regular flights. And I was just like, I cannot do this 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. So Seattle, we ended up surviving the plane ride, and when we landed in Seattle, I was like, thank the freaking Lord. Like, we were just so tired and so exhausted. So we got into Seattle at around midnight, 11:30. And when we got into Seattle, we were starving. But when we got in, literally every single restaurant was closed because it was midnight. We were supposed to pick up our bags, but every single restaurant was closed. So on the way to get our bags, I was like, let's stop at a restaurant. Every single restaurant was closed. So we were walking by all of these closed convenience stores and restaurants while still not eating for like, at this point, like 12 hours. Just like getting progressively hungrier, angrier, whatever. But we were also, I think at this point, we were both kind of like, okay, like no matter what, like it's like at this point, there's nothing else that could really go wrong. So we get to the baggage terminal, and while we're standing there, I had this thought, and I was like, I didn't want to say it out loud though, but I was like, we sprinted to get to our flights. I was like, we literally sprinted. So the likelihood that they were able to transfer our bags from the last flight to this flight while we literally sprinted to the next plane, and we had to recheck our bags. So like once we got through customs, we had to recheck our bags. So it wasn't like they had the 2 hours to go from this flight to this flight. It's like we had to go through customs. They had the 30 minutes that we got through customs to get to the next flight to recheck the bags, put them on the plane, and take off. And in my head, I was like, I bet you they didn't put our bags in there. I didn't want to say it out loud though. I don't want to like worry Kirsten. We were standing there for about 30 minutes or so, and then I looked at Kirsten and I was like, babe, I don't think they have our bags. And then I explained the theory, and I was like, I really don't think that they're gonna have the bags there. And so we waited until all the bags from the Miami flight came off. Asked the guy, we're like, how do we know if like our bags aren't here? He's like, walk up to the office at the end of the hallway, and they'll tell you if your bags are there. So we walked up to the office, we talked to the lady who was actually really nice. We gave her our little like baggage tags, and she like looks them up on the computer, and she's like, yep, your bags are in Miami. They'll be here tomorrow. And we're like, we don't live here. She's like, oh, that's unfortunate. She's like, well, what I can actually do is I can get them sent to wherever you guys want. Like, where do you guys want to go? And like, we told her we live in Kelowna. And then we found out that she is actually going to deliver them to our house, which does work out better because we were going to have to pick them up and drop them off. So like, it ended up working out in our favor, which is cool. It was the first thing that happened all trip where it ended up working out in our favor. We're like, okay, this is good. So then we're starving. So now we need to solve the hunger problem. So it's around 12:30 at night, and there's no restaurants that are open in the airport. And so we asked a girl, we're like, is there a restaurant that's close? She said there's a place called 13 Coins. It's really close. It's really good. You're gonna like it. So we're like, okay. And it's open 24 hours, which is a key. That's a key part of the story. So we go to the, we were gonna walk there initially, but then me and Chris like looked at each other and we're like, with the luck that we've been having, like we probably shouldn't walk there. So we decided not to. We decided to go get a taxi, go to the taxi station, and then ask them to take us to 13 Coins. Get to the taxi station. I told the guy, I'm like, I want to go to 13 Coins. I heard it's really close. I'm like, I'll give you $10, whatever. Get in the taxi. He drives us to 13 Coins, which it takes about 3 to 4 minutes. And when we get to 13 Coins, I was like, is it open? He's like, oh yeah, 100%, 24 hours. And then he charges me $25 for a $5 cab ride, which I was like, whatever. We get our bags. We're so excited. We're like, we're gonna go eat. We're so pumped. We walk up to the door of the 24-hour diner, and they have hours on them that aren't 24 hours, and it's closed. At that point, it was like, you know what? Like, whatever. So then we're like, well, I hope this freaking cab driver's still there. So we like sprint back to see if the cab driver's there. He's gone.
There's no cab drivers in sight. Like it's like
Nope.
12:30.
12:30. We're like on
a Wednesday.
on a Wednesday on the side of the highway in Seattle. And we're like starving. Like haven't eaten now since like 10 o'clock in the morning.
12 hours. Yeah.
It was like obnoxious.
Yeah.
No restaurants in sight.
Besides the crackers they gave us on the flight.
Yeah.
And I like licked the bag because I was so hungry.
So I see a Hilton in the distance, like a Hilton hotel. So I'm like, let's walk there and let's get a taxi. And honestly, the walk there, we started to like laugh about the whole situation. Like this is like asinine. Like this is crazy. Like this is some shit we're gonna tell our grandkids about. This is absolutely nuts. We actually started laughing and having fun. We got to the Hilton hotel. They called us a taxi, and there was no we didn't really want to play any risking games at this point. So we asked the taxi to take us to the closest McDonald's because we knew that there was going to be a McDonald's
are always open.
Yeah, they're always open. What did you get from McDonald's?
Well, this is like annoying as hell because I actually was like, I only want to start eating seafood, like chicken and beef. Like it just doesn't make my stomach feel awesome. And so I done that for the last successful 6 days on the trip.
Yep.
It was easy. I'm like, this is so easy for me. But like, I ain't getting a fucking nasty ass fish burger from McDonald's. So I broke my and I got chicken fingers and 2 kids cheeseburgers and large fries and mayonnaise.
And I got 20 chicken nuggets and a double quarter pounder with cheese.
And I ate half my fries.
And ate half of her fries. And I honestly didn't even care. I was like, I'm just happy to be consuming calories.
I couldn't care. Like I'm so hungry.
Yeah, and the best part about the situation is as the guy's taking us to the drive-thru, we paid for the McDonald's, and then we're like eating McDonald's in the back of the cab driver's like car. And I like looked at her. I'm like, how funny is it that we were just on our honeymoon and like the nicest like place ever in the entire world, the Turks and Caicos, like eating sushi by the beach, and right now we're in the back of a McDonald's cab
holding a
10-pound bag of McDonald's and eating fries out of the bag. It was f***ing funny.
It was funny.
It was funny. So we took the bag of McDonald's back to the airport because our next flight was at 6 o'clock in the morning. So at this point it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I don't want to get a hotel for 3 hours. There's no point.
No point. It's worse at that point.
Yeah, and
get a hotel.
and also if you miss your flight because you sleep for too long by accident, it's just not worth it. So we decided we were going to stay at the airport. Went back to the airport, and Kirsten and I literally found the closest bench.
And there was no carpet. It was cement floor.
We slept on cement. It was freezing. We ate our McDonald's and we passed out for 3 hours.
I didn't pass out. I tried so hard.
I did. She said I was snoring.
I was so tired. She was snoring.
So here we are, sleeping on the middle of the floor in the middle of the airport where we're supposed to be home by now. We wake up. This is actually funny. There was a guy that like worked at the airport, and he wakes us up by coming and clapping above our heads, and he goes, "Wakey, wakey!" And he's like so happy. He's like, usually I let you guys sleep all day, but when I'm working, I can't do that. So wakey, wakey! And we just like got up. We were like, at this point, we were like, oh, kill me now. Like, not a lot of sleep. Super hungry. Super grumpy.
No sleep.
Super tired. Yeah, no sleep for Kirst. Okay, whatever. Let's just go get ready to check into our flights because this was 3:30. Our flight was at 6, so we had about 2 hours before 2 hours to check in. So we go to look for the security line, and when me and Kirsten get there, we realize that it's already an hour-long line at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30.
An hour long. I'm like, how is there this many humans that are up right now?
That never happens in Kelowna.
Ever.
The most you ever wait is like 20 minutes.
Yeah, in Kelowna.
20 minutes.
Even when it's busy. Even when it's busy, yeah. So like, I told her, I was like, dude, if I lived in the States, I would like never travel. The airport lines in like Miami.
Or you need like what the people we met said is there's so many direct flights, so they just have to do that once. They don't have to do like the layover, which takes out the time.
Yeah, the layover is nuts. Every time we did a layover, we had to go through another customs. It was crazy. So it's another hour-long line.
Customs
security. But we got through the hour-long line at security, and at this point, like, it was 4:30 in the morning when we started sitting down at the gate waiting for our next flight. And at this point, that's when I wrote the post talking about all the crazy stuff that had happened.
And that's actually when I did fall asleep on the floor because there was carpet and I had my little blanket.
Yeah. So she fell asleep on the floor. Yeah. We took the flight from that was Seattle to Vancouver. We got into Vancouver, no problems. At the Vancouver airport, I did get randomly selected for a COVID test. And I honestly didn't care. I didn't care. Yes, I was like, you know what? I'm like, I actually expected it. I was like, no problem.
They're like done with that on April 1st. So it's like, why are you doing
out of all the people that were in the line, I got randomly selected for a COVID test. I was like, cool.
1 in every 50. It's like, Brian was the
You've been randomly selected. I'm like, that's so cool. Thank you so much for that. That's amazing. At this point, I'm like, I was honest. I was like optimistic.
Lay it on me.
I'm like, I can't. Like, you guys can't do anything else to me that I haven't heard.
It's bloody lucky that he got it because it was the one that goes right up to your country.
It like tickled.
Which,
It tickled
no
my
other country does.
Yeah, it tickled me for like
Besides
30
Canada.
seconds.
Yeah, I would have punched the guy in the face.
At this point, we were in the Vancouver airport. We actually went for food, and that's when things started to lighten up a little bit. We had like our first like actual meal in a very long time.
Oh yeah.
And then we sat down, we like had a couple drinks to
Yeah.
end the trip, and here we are back in Kelowna. And that wraps up the nightmare getting home and our honeymoon. That was nuts, dude. Talking about all those things like stresses me out still.
We probably missed something because there was so many things.
Yeah, there was a lot. But we made it. Slept on the airport floor. That is gonna be a YouTube that we will watch in like a couple years and laugh about.
I hope so, 'cause I'm so tired right now.
Guys, we made it. We're home. All right, guys, that is it. That is all. Thank you so much for watching. This is part 2 of the Nightmare Honeymoon. The Nightmare Honeymoon ending. That's
Yes,
what it says. It's
it was
called
the best.
This is part 2. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Let us know what you think the funniest thing is in
Let
the
us know
comments.
about your experiences.
Yeah, and if you have any negative experiences with Air
Drop 'em
Canada,
below.
drop them below, or even flying in general. We want to be able to laugh with you guys. So that's it. That's all. Hope you guys have the best day of your entire life. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend about this channel, and chase your dreams. Let's go.